Hello Gemini, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for May for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to share with you the key strands to look out for, but then please stay with me because I will dive deep to give you in detail each of the key dates and influences that are particularly relevant to your sign. Now, as you come into this new month, so your ruler is in its shadow phase. This means it's going through the degrees in the heavens to the point that it will get back to when the retrograde completely unravels. So it actually began on the 26th of April. So if some of the things that are important to you have not gone quite as quickly as you hoped, that wouldn't be a complete surprise. However, when it comes to your financial and professional prospects, as you come into this month, a really very beneficial link between Jupiter and Pluto is in place for the first week. So if you're marshalling your resources with care, Pluto, Jupiter in its very positive guise in the sign of Pisces, which it traditionally rules, gives you the chance to raise your profile, grab attention for your talents. But of course, as we come into this new month, we are also surfing the energy of the solar eclipse, which occurred right at the end of April, the black moon. And for you, that occurred in your 12th house. And it also was combining with Uranus, a very restless influence. And that's very close to the sun for the first week of this month too. And what's been happening since Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus, which first began for 5 months in 2018, and then all the time since March 2019, is those people born in the early parts, the early days of Gemini, have probably been feeling quite a lot of restlessness. I've used the analogy before of kind of walking along and feeling there's a bit of grit in your shoe, and take your shoe off, try to knock the grit out, put it back on, but something still seems to just be making you feel slightly on edge. So sleep may have been at a premium in recent times, and it could be that you do need to continue to work at your psychological understanding of the need for rest, the need to embrace the shadow side of your nature. And this is all because, Gemini, because you're so mercurial, so quick-witted, so often very amusing, and an ability to get along with so many different types of people. But because you're an air sign, you do at times rationalize your emotions. So Uranus in the 12th house is asking you to be very honest about maybe the sides of yourself or life which you may find are not quite so appealing. So I think that's the big takeout for the influences at the start of this month. But with Venus on the 2nd, Jupiter on the 10th, and Mars on the 24th, all linking together in your sector of friendship, future plans and highest hopes, and Jupiter and Mars coming together in a glorious conjunction as this month draws to a close, they give you a fantastic opportunity to really revive your situation in a way that COVID may have been impinging upon in recent times, but you're really going to feel much more in the mood to mix and mingle. And of course, once the sun moves into your sign on the 21st, despite the fact that Mercury is going to inverse into the sign of Taurus on the 23rd, and that could see that psychological dimension just be re-emphasized, but there's a lot to go for that's very positive for you this month. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'd be honored if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, if you'd like to ascend above this Zodiac broadcast and understand more serious astrology, and in particular your prospects, you can order a 12-month forecast and your character analysis based on your time, date and place of birth, and get 30% off by seeing the link beneath this video. Gain searing insights into your true potential and your prospects for the next year. And finally, if you'd like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please see also the link below. But please stay with me now for your in-depth analysis. So Gemini, your monthly forecast for May begins with the power and intensity of that solar eclipse. Because it is merging with Uranus, the planet of truth, the planet of freedom, the planet of independence, the planet of our need to innovate and change. And perhaps the thing that we can free ourselves from at the start of this month, in terms of the 12th house, is our fear. So it's a brilliant opportunity over the next 6 months to become much more aware of your deeper needs, your vulnerabilities, but also what really motivates you and others in a way which is truly meaningful. So a big opportunity as you come into this month. But of course, with your ruler Mercury in shadow, that began on the 26th of April, it's going to go into retrograde on the 10th of this month. And as I mentioned before, it's then going to inverse back into the sign of Taurus on the 23rd. This could mean that something that you've been working on of an individual nature may need to go through some amendments or rethinking. It might not necessarily go exactly to plan, but sometimes when life doesn't go to plan, what we end up getting is something we actually needed more but didn't quite realise at the start of the process. So try to be philosophical about any little changes that might occur. Imagine like a little stream of water coming down the side of a hill, and it reaches a pebble. It will go round that pebble. So it may not be exactly in a straight line, but it is still gaining momentum. And I think that's how your situation can unfold. When Jupiter and Pluto are in positive links, such as the sextile at the start of this month, they can be very, very helpful. Jupiter in your 10th house has been giving you a lot of heft when it comes to realizing your bigger goals and ambitions. Now Mars, of course, is in this area too, along with Jupiter at the start of the month, but Mars is actually forging a very delicate combination with Neptune from the 13th to the 23rd. This is kind of saying that if you are communicating with people in the know, it is going to be important to use your drive, but in tandem with great sensitivity. If you do that, Mars combining with Neptune can be really good. If you're a bit out of touch with the more feeling side of your situation, the Pisces energy, your efforts in some way could be dissipated by the watery energy of Neptune. So it is a key period at the heart of this month. But I think Venus moving, Venus of course is the planet of charm, of presentation, of artistry, of money and relationships. Well, that moves into a glorious location for you on the 2nd. This transition could mean that you're going to build up your networks with others in quite a formidable way this month. I think that's really going to become obvious to you on the 21st when the Sun moves into your sign, because perhaps the retrograde to your ruler and the Sun transiting through the sign of Taurus, your 12th house, could make you a little bit wary about who you can really link with. But actually, as time goes on and Jupiter moves into Aries and is really fired up from the 10th, and then followed by Mars on the 24th, and that combination between Jupiter and Mars in the last week of this month can give you fantastic motivation, willpower and extra traction to make progress towards your highest hopes, the 11th house. Now this is very Aquarius energy, so if there is a chance to mix and mingle because it's safe to do so and the rules and regulations wherever you are allow that, you could find yourself in a much more sociable phase as this month progresses. But the lunar eclipse, which occurs on the 16th, is quite complex because you've got the Sun in the 12th, very much about that ethereal, spiritual, non-tangible dimension, the 12th house. And opposing it for you is the position of the moon in the 6th house, very much to do with practicalities, the efficiency of your world, and more physical health. Now, pinned between the two in a T-square is the influence of Saturn. Now, Saturn obviously is in your sister air sign of Aquarius, and it's given you a lot of opportunities to make the most of your knowledge, sharing your skills and beliefs, but you have to work hard to get the rewards. That's always the deal with Saturn. So Saturn in a T-square with the 12th and 6th house could mean that something that is a little bit out of kilter in terms of the balance between your emotional and physical worlds could be revealed in quite a stark way in the following 2 weeks, and perhaps even further into the year. It just depends how much you want to grapple with Uranus in the 12th house. I think the more you embrace it, the more you're going to grow with it. The more you try to deny it, the longer its more ragged influence can actually persist, quite frankly. So I think the lunar eclipse is kind of saying, if there is something that does need to be aligned, becoming much more conscious of your emotional needs, or if your physical structure is a bit disordered and that's having an effect on your ease of life, the truth of Saturn, the 9th house, very much to do with higher truth, is calling out to you to make some changes. But the sun moving into your sign on the 21st is a great opportunity to move into the moment, feel much more energized, much more enthusiastic. And then as Mars powers into the sign of Aries, which of course it governs, so it's in its dignity, Venus technically at the start of the month is in its detriment. Personally, I actually like Venus in Aries because I feel it gives people a bit of get-go when it comes to going for what they need, particularly around relationships. Some of these rules and regulations are there to be discussed. I mean, they're there for a reason, but they're there to be discussed. Jupiter moving into the fiery Aries is also very, very exciting. Bit random in some ways. We might start things that we don't always continue, so we get a spark of an idea, the enthusiasm for it. But that's Jupiter and Mars coming together for you in your 11th house in the last week of this month is really, really exciting. And then Venus then moves on the 28th into a part of your horoscope which is much more reflective. So for all the excitement that this month it does create, if there are some relationships which are not quite working for you, you will need to look at that on the 28th, particularly as Venus did square, or does square, from the 24th to the 28th with Pluto. So someone could leverage a relationship a little bit with you, and you may have to make a decision on what to do. But the new moon in your sign on the 30th, well, that's really, really exciting because it's not directly influenced in any major way, not a major aspect. And I think that's going to be very enabling for you to make or share the best of yourself. Your bright-mindedness, your quick wits, the way that you can communicate in a very agile and nimble way. And you're really going to be in top form as you do make your way into the start of June. So it's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Please stay safe, take care, and goodbye for now.